It's not desert season without a campfire or Chupacabra Offroad. Now, here's your host, Nick Olson.
What's happening, everybody? It's Nick Olson coming to you guys. This is the Chupacabra Around the Campfire podcast. Thanks for tuning in. This is our second ever podcast. Kind of going to feel like our first one because last time we kind of talked about our origin story, but today we're going to talk about what's going on in the world, like what I think that the tempo and the flow of the podcast will be. So Chupacabra Offroad, we are an accessories company in the off-road space, predominantly side-by-side and sport side-by-side. So Polaris RZR, Can-Am X3, Yamaha YXZ, Talon, KRX. That's who we are. That's what we dig and what we're passionate about. And that's the accessories that we make right now. So for those type of vehicles. So today we got a couple guests joining me. Same guys from last week. We got Wes Leffler chiming in from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Glad to be here again.
And back again, of course, Andrew Garvey from El Centro.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Glad to be back again tonight.
So like I said, we're talking side-by-side off-roading 2020. It's kind of our first State of the Union news roundtable, we might call it. What's going on in the side-by-side world? So I think this would be fun to do, guys. You know, like talk about once a month, you know, lots of stuff going on throughout the course of a whole month. And new products, events, and of course it's 2020. Since this is our first podcast, September, we can't not talk about 2020 and talk about how much different it's been from a typical year of riding, events, having fun. And we'll start off with the topic of which events did COVID spoil for you in 2020. So I'll kick it off. The first event that I really, really wish that we did get to go to that got canceled was Rally on the Rocks in Moab. I went 2 years ago. It was my second time going there in a side-by-side. I love the event. I love going to Moab to do some rock crawling. It's quite a bit different than what we do normally day to day, you know, from duning, off-roading, desert, all that type of stuff, Mexico. But I really enjoyed it, you know, coming from a guy like all of us who kind of have a two-wheel background. We like going fast. Maybe to some guys who haven't been to Moab, it might sound like it's a little boring going slow, but man, those rocks have so much traction. It's amazing how much fun they are. And it's not so jagged bumpy that it doesn't beat the snot out of you, like going slow on the rocks out here, like in Arizona, like where I live. But I was really bummed on that event. You know, that event normally happens in May, and it got postponed to September, and then it got postponed again. So that's the one event I was really hoping to go on. They got canceled due to COVID. So Andrew, what about you, man? In 2020, what's the one thing you're looking forward to that didn't happen?
2020, I would say it was the Arizona Peace Trail. We were going to go with your buddies and invited you down there. I got the exclusive invite. My brother actually flew in from North Carolina to come actually ride in that ride. He's never been in a side-by-side, so he was really looking forward to it. Doing 500-600 miles of the Arizona Peace Trail was going to be an awesome trip for us. But unfortunately, the group decided right when COVID was starting to get really big. Unfortunately, the group said, "Hey, we want to see how it goes," and they postponed that trip to Thanksgiving time this year. So we'll see if we get on it for Thanksgiving. But other than that, Wes, what was your 2020 experience with what rides, what other things that caused you missed?
Well, yeah, I mean, COVID's been crazy. It's canceled. It's messed with so many schedules. I have a busy schedule as it is, and, you know, it revolves around a little bit of racing, but then also getting the rides in. One of the rides that it screwed up for us as a family was our annual Coral Pink trip that we do every April, which includes all my extended family, and we go there for 5 or 6 days a year. We love that trip. It got rescheduled. We're going to be going there in about 3 weeks, which is awesome. It hasn't been canceled yet. Hopefully it doesn't. There in Utah, things are a little bit more lenient, especially than California and Nevada. Also, I was excited about Rally on the Rocks getting canceled the first time because I couldn't go. And then when it got rescheduled, I was like, sweet, you know, I have that week open. It'll be perfect. And it was right about this time now. And then it got canceled again. So I've never done Rally on the Rocks. I was looking forward to doing that. Haven't done so much rock crawling. But, yeah, Nick, that's what I got.
Yeah, if you guys have checked out our YouTube channel, we kind of have some videos from all three of those. Starting off with Coral Pink, I think it was one of the first videos that we made. Wes's family
Mhm.
trip in 2018, and we actually got snowed on a little bit, but great time to go there in April. Luckily, I was able to go here in May recently with the 3-day ride with some of my friends. Coral Pink's always fun, a ton of good trails in that whole area. And then speaking of the YouTube channel, Andrew's talking about the buddies that invited me on Arizona Peace Trail. You'll see we did the Northern Loop, and the group that invited us for this past springtime that got canceled was going to do the Southern Loop. So I hadn't really off-roaded anywhere near there, near Yuma, Salome, southern part. So, to do the whole loop is really a big effort, a lot of days. I think it's like 5 or 6 days to do it, the whole thing. So it's kind of broken down into 2 separate sections. So definitely bummer. And then Rally on the Rocks. I went to that event again. It's on our YouTube channel. I made a long video just so you can get a feel of like what the train's like. And I rode Poison Spider to Golden Spike to Golden Bar, and those trails are pretty gnarly. But I went from like being like a total scared rookie to like feeling pretty confident. So I was hoping for you guys to go just kind of see like those pucker moments, and then like especially with all of us having 4-seat razors, like the wheelbase and the 4-wheel drive system is so freaking good on that car that, we could all do hot tub if we had the cojones. If it's dry, we definitely have the ability to do it. Like, I don't know if I would do it this time. I don't want to like talk back and say I would, but it's totally doable with our cars. I think our car is like the perfect Moab.
I'm pretty sure my car is way too pretty to go in the hot tub. I just saying. I mean, it's not that I'm scared. It's just that it's just too pretty.
I don't know. I would say after seeing Nash do his thing in the X3, I don't know if I want to take the chance with my pretty car either.
Yeah, and just talking about our buddy Bill Nash, who did a backflip. His car hooked up, but he had a 2-seater. That's the problem. He had no weight on the front of the car. So
yeah. No, I was definitely looking forward to that trip. I've never been out there, and I don't really do a lot of rock crawling, but I was actually looking forward to Moab, checking out Rally on the Rocks. It seems like it's a really, really cool event to get out there and actually do some 4-wheel driving.
Yeah. And, speaking of 2020, as the tables are starting to turn, I mean, things are looking a lot better. Definitely in Utah, definitely in Arizona. California is kind of a wild card. Definitely some events that are going down that, we're getting really prepared for as a business, and then as a racer, and then as an enthusiast. So starting off as we get into October here, well, actually, before we kick off October, we have been doing a little bit of riding. A few weeks ago was my birthday, and I went with the family, went up to Sedona, my favorite town in Arizona. Hippie town vibe, ton of good mountain biking, good trails, and farted around in some of the rocks and did a little bit of off-roading in my Razor. But it was a fun time. How about you guys, Wes? You've been riding a little bit, right, this summer?
Yeah, I've been able to take 3 trips this summer up to Duck Creek area in Utah. Up in that area, family has a place up there, and just got back this weekend. It's pretty busy on the holiday weekends, but we've discovered that we like to go out as a family when it gets dark. So we'll go out about 10 o'clock at night, take both the cars out with the radio communication. The only thing you really have to watch out for is the animals, deer and stuff like that. But you don't get any of the dust. You're able to spread out. And I mean, on Sunday night, I think we did about 65 miles as a family, all of us, both cars, and went out there and had a really good time. Duck Creek is very, very popular, especially with people in Vegas. I call it other Vegas because pretty much everybody up there is from Las Vegas or from out of town. But the side-by-side enthusiasts have all just picked up on it, and they've been up there. And it's a pretty fun place to go and hang out, just enjoy the cooler weather, getting out of the 115 of Vegas. And was able to do that three times this year. Usually it's a little bit more, but like I said, with the COVID thing, there's been a couple hiccups and changes of schedules. But I love it up there. I've been going up there since I was a kid. And, now with the side-by-side, especially when my Polaris with the Ride Command app, on the screen, you can just go and go and go. All the maps are right there, like a GPS. It's pretty fun, and we had a really, really, really good time.
What's the terrain like, Wes, in Duck Creek? I've never been up there. Is it just like marked fire roads, smooth? Is there some technical? Is there?
It's everything. You get some fire roads, and you tend to learn the trails. You get a lot of rough. There's one trail that goes from Duck Creek and you head over towards Bryan Head, which you're familiar with, and you're crossing a lava bed. So it's a little bit of low range. I only put in low range so you don't smoke the belt, but then you can get in some really smooth, fast fire roads or some real tight, twisty trees. There's pretty much everything there. And the cool thing about that area is you can go from town to town. Like I can leave my cabin, go to Bryan Head, Then I can go from Bryan Head up over to Panguitch over to Hatch, which is over on the 89, and make a big loop all the way around. So you can make these pit stops. So you don't need to carry fuel and things like that. You can always stop and get gas, stop and get food, kids can get out of the car and stop in one of the little creeks or rivers and just, take your time throughout the day. It's pretty fun.
Altitude, so the weather's cool.
Yeah, altitude where we're at is about 8,500. So it's pretty high up there. It was actually like 80, 85, 86 this weekend, which is pretty warm for up there, but then it snowed yesterday. So there you go.
Yeah. This whole West Coast has had like a weird heat wave too. It's been like dry and hot and all other fires going on. But Wes, we did a video on your Razor, got it all pretty, got it all church up, got the wrap on it. But you had talked a little bit about the parts on the car and all that. So like, how was last weekend? How you got like 700 miles with like the Toyos on it, and you came from a 16 turbo. So like, how's Turbo S life treating you with all the bells and whistles?
Well, I'll just put it in like perspective. You have kids, so you understand. You don't have really a favorite kid. Well, that doesn't matter with side-by-sides. I mean, I love my 16. I mean, the memories I've made in that car, but I didn't drive that car once the whole time I was up there. I love the Turbo S. I love everything about it. I mean, obviously the way it looks, and it gets a lot of attention. We actually had a bunch of people stop us and, like, oh, are you part of those guys? Are you part of the Chupacabra crew? Whenever, I mean, I handed out stickers like I was at a parade, but I enjoyed doing that. But going back to the car, I mean, it's just amazing. It's amazing what they've done in the last 4 years. The electronic shocks, all the creature comforts. It's just, I love that car. It's really hard to drive the 16, which I still like and I still enjoy, but it's just amazing. The shocks, the everything that has to do with the wider stance, being able to control the car more, the tighter steering, just overall the feel of the car is amazing.
Do you hit the dynamics button a bunch, like when you're going slow with that rocket? I mean, when I first got it, maybe because it's a new widget, I hit it like, 100 times the ride. Like,
yeah, I find myself doing that between sport and comfort a lot. Never hardly get into the firm setting, especially up there. I don't know. I'm sure I'll do that when we get into the dunes just to firm it up. But I go back between firm and comfort. I'm always talking to the kids in the back seat and make sure that it's good for them. But it's really, really cool how it's from a click of a button, you can adjust your car while going 65 or 70 miles an hour, So yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
See, I like on those fast roads too, just to firm it up when you are going 60 or 70, and it has more of like a rally car feel where it's like, it's just firm and it's not going to wallow if the car is loaded down. But, Wes, the question everybody wants to know, is it worth the extra dough to get the dynamic shocks?
Absolutely. It's worth it in my opinion. I get it. When you have the other option and, Polaris throws a cheaper option at you. And the only difference is it just doesn't have the creature comforts, and when you get those creature comforts, you don't think you need them because you don't enjoy them. But once you've enjoyed them, like now I couldn't go buy a Velocity, even though it's the same car without the creature comforts and the electronics. I couldn't do it. Now I know, and I'm screwed forever. So thanks, Polaris.
Should thank Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Andrew? Getting any riding in this past summer, kind of since COVID? It's been 150 degrees.
Yeah, it's been super hot down here in the Imperial Valley, especially in our desert. It's been the past couple weeks. It's been 119, 120. Even at night, it's not even getting down past 100 degrees. So it's pretty nasty out right now. I did do one little night ride with a couple people from work. It was hot. I blew through about 3 belts in about 65 miles. I think I need to do a little bit of clutch maintenance on my Turbo S. It's getting up there to about 1,000 miles. So, but yeah, it was hot, it was sticky, humid, especially with these fires going on right now up in San Diego and everything going on. The air quality here is just garbage. It's murky. It's nasty outside. We finally got a break today, though. It was down in the 95s. This kind of weird, cool weather that's coming through right now is just it let me get into the garage and actually work on stuff. It's kind of nice without sweating like I just got out of the pool.
So hold on, you got your car in August. We got our cars the same day, and you got about 1,000 miles. So if my math is correct, Wes has had his car like half the amount of time, and he has more miles on it than you.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
You know, we talked about, we've said it before. A lot of people just build cars to make them look pretty, and they look pretty, but there's a few of us that build pretty cars and still drive them, and get them dirty. Like I make mine sit in the garage dirty for 3 days before I wash it, just as a punishment. So
yeah, mine's still sitting since that ride. I burned 3 belts. It's still sitting in the garage dirty. Gonna start working on it, get ready for the season.
Is it true that your garage floor is mirrors and you pull your car up on the mirrors like old school off-road lowrider magazine? Is that true? So people can see the undercarriage?
See the undercarriage and see all the chrome underneath it.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just making sure.
Skid plate.
Powder-coated skid plates.
But I was going to get into events coming up, but we should probably chat a little bit about, speaking of events and like how the years turn out, the racing world. So this is Wes's forte. Wes is a competitor in the Best in the Desert series. He's been involved with the truck race team as well. So like real quick, how's COVID kind of changed things, and like what do you think we can expect with maybe other events getting changed or either going through, because we're looking at racing UTV Worlds here in early October.
Yeah, I mean, COVID threw us for a loop. I mean, everything was going good. January, February, 2 races under our belt, and had the third one going, and then all of a sudden, just the mass panic set in, and things started getting shut down. And it was at that time, as a racer and being involved in the racing, that you realized, man, this sucks, and taking it for granted. So we ended up having our Laughlin race canceled. The Jagged X sponsored race there in Laughlin, it was canceled. And then we had Silver State, the original date of Silver State, get canceled. Silver State got rescheduled, and we were able to race that in June. It was great, no hiccups. Best of Desert stepped up and made some new changes to how we had the drivers meeting through social media. Also, social distancing when you're in tech. They made it to where you could sit in your truck, put your car on your trailer, and just drive through tech, and they check your car out right there. You didn't even have to get out. They made a lot of changes, which is really cool, because I think a lot of organizations would have just said, we're done. We're not going to, do all these things. And they made it happen. And then things took the turn for the worse there in July, when the whole country started peaking and new cases went through the roof. And that was right before Vegas to Reno, which is the biggest race that we have of the year, the longest race. And ended up, rumor has it that some higher ups in the off-road industry, not the side-by-side guys, but trophy truck guys, which I don't think it's a secret or anything, but Bryce Menzies' dad stepped up and really put his name out there and really tried to help to get the land approved for it. And Steve Menzies was able to really help it, along with a lot of others, especially a lot of hard work by Best in Desert crew. And we were able to have that race. So that race was last month in August, and it went on as scheduled. Once again, the social distancing, different precautions. The one hiccup that did happen in that race, though, is that it was no spectators at all, but then you have off-road fans, and it was at Sunset Station. A lot of fans came to want to see the cars while they were going through tech, and they actually shut tech down. So there was several cars. There was over 400 entries, but there were several cars that didn't even get teched, and they had to get teched at the start line the next morning at the gas station across the street. So if you didn't pass tech, I mean, I don't know what you were going to do. Maybe they were just like, but race went on, and we were able to race. We were able to get both cars on our team to a finish, which is, in itself is a huge accomplishment. We had a few hiccups during the race, but we persevered and we were able to get the finish. And at 515 miles, it's a big deal. Anybody that's listening to this that's raced anything long like that will understand that part of racing is just finishing. And in that race, yeah, you want to finish good, but when you have issues and you have to fight through those issues, getting to that finish line is one of the best things, one of the best feelings ever. You really don't think about the position. Yeah, it'd been great to be in a higher position or a lower position, but overall, watching big name teams in our class, in the Pro Production Turbo class, DNF and have problems, and to be able to get both cars that we work on at Romo Motorsports and get them both to the finish with the finish is awesome.
And it all ends up being pretty much the biggest race of the year, right? With Baja being canceled, which kind of reminds me too, it would have been, I was kind of hopeful at the beginning of the year we might have snuck in a summer Baja trip like we did a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And I think we could. I've noticed a few people that we race with, they do their fun rides and they've been down there, but I've asked them questions because as far as I know, the borders are still kind of like closed for just recreation. But apparently they opened them up. They just didn't announce it. But I mean, I talked about Best of Desert, but obviously the Score Series has been hammered. They haven't had a race. San Felipe got canceled. Then the 500 in June got canceled. Then San Felipe, they got rescheduled for July. Then that one got canceled. And coming up here in a couple of weeks, they're having their first race of the year in the middle or end of September, the Baja 500, which is now not even in Ensenada. It's going to be in San Felipe. And the course they have marked out, I raced that a few years back in a code race. And I hope nobody calls me to go racing because I don't want to go that course. It is brutal. Cars don't belong in that area. And people who race San Felipe, hats off to you, especially in the side-by-side. I can see it in a trophy truck. Yeah, you're going 80, 90, 100 in the bumps. Who cares? But those guys in those 7S's and those, Razors and side-by-sides and different small cars, Class 11s, hats off to you.
So, speaking of racing, like I said, October, we're looking at a very jam-packed month. And for Andrew and I, we need to do a legit shakedown. If you guys have been watching our YouTube channel at all, we did a video about how all three of us were together. We put the new motor in our race car, made some updates to it, got, new oil cooler, and being tuned right now. And got some new wheels and tires, which is cool. I think we'll probably do a podcast, talking about like sponsorship and kind of like our process, how we think about it, the whole world right now and social and influencer and deals, all that stuff. I think it's like an interesting topic that we can elaborate more on because we're kind of on all sides of the fence, from a company who sponsors people, from racers that are trying to get sponsored ourselves, and also trying to grow our following so we become a quote unquote influencer, if you will. But either way, we're making these improvements to the car to make sure that we're dialed and we're going to do a proper shakedown. But, a little birdie told me, looking forward here, UTV World Champs is the first time this event's been done in Havasu. And I've done a little bit of riding out there in standard wash. Like last time I went through is when I went through Arizona Peace Trail. So to me, the terrain feels like really narrow. Like a lot of those trails were initially built by ATVs and side-by-sides. It's not like your typical wide open desert terrain. And there's a lot of blind ups and downs. Andrew, we kind of all ran in my car a little bit. I don't know how much you've been out there, Wes, but little birdie told me like, hey, it's going to be tight single track. Passing is going to be tight, like 60-mile course. Like, what do you think about the riding, and how that race is going to pan out, Wes?
Well, the exciting thing about UTV Worlds, and one thing that I will say about it, is that they're allowing you guys to qualify. They're allowing the different classes to qualify, which is awesome, because then that really limits a lot of the dangerous stuff like catching slower cars or guys who just may be going out there for recreation. So that's one good thing that I think that the promoters are putting on is a qualifying. That being said, that if it is tight and twisty like that, it's just going to be who has the guts to push through it. We know in this area in the Southwest, there's rocks everywhere, especially in washes, big rocks and things like that. And if it's tight, twisty through rocks or through washes, you're going to get these rocks on the edges. And, I think it'll probably cause a lot of issues with people running in the dust. There's some guys that do it better than others. I mean, to name a few, like Brandon Sims, if you watch his video from the Silver State 300, that guy, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was there. I'd raced in that situation, and that guy pushed through the dust from like 40th place all the way up to where he finished in third, and he pushes through the dust. Other people don't push the dust that hard because one rock's going to take you out. So that could be a big factor. It could be a big factor, but it's really cool that they put on a UTV only type race, which puts a short course and the kids can come out in the different classes, and they really promote it really well. But we'll just have to wait and see. They're going to allow people to pre-run, so you'll know a few days beforehand exactly what it is. You're just going to have to mark every rock very, very well, I think, because you don't want to be chasing somebody in the dust and clip one of those rocks or go over a rise and find yourself on your roof or your lid,
Yeah, and it sounds like, anybody can pre-run it. Pre-running's wide open. And if you're just a fan or an enthusiast, you can kind of check out the race wherever you want. So if you're not a racer, but you want to go check out a cool race, I think there's a lot of hype. There's probably a lot of pent-up demand because guys haven't been able to race. It's in Havasu, which is like a great little town to go have fun. The weather's still going to be nice even for guys that have boats hanging out. There's always something cool going on in Havasu. A lot of events, I'm sure, have been canceled, but people are going to be excited for it, even if you just want to go check it out. Robbie Gordon's supposed to be racing their new cars there. So as an enthusiast too, in general, there's so many guys that ride and come down. to hang out and have us and ride all winter. I think it's going to be hopefully a bigger fan appeal, and I hope maybe like a King of the Hammers type vibe. I'm hoping where people can kind of go around and get wherever they want to be and make it exciting for everybody.
I think you're right. I think it's definitely going to have that. I mean, I've raced UTV Worlds in the past, and that's what it is. The cool thing is you're not competing for the, quote unquote attention from trophy trucks and different classes. I mean, it is all about UTVs. When you're there, it's, the pro turbos all the way down into your youth 170 class where they have 6 and 5 year olds racing. And it's really cool because it gets a lot of attention. All the videos that are made, all the promotion, everything is about our sport. It's about UTVs. It's about, Chupacabra. It's about every company that builds stuff for UTVs. And it's really cool because they can all show up and they all are part of this big, huge, giant side-by-side community. Yeah, it's involved in racing, but a majority of those people there, or I would say almost all of them, have play cars that they go out and they play in. Havasu, I know, is huge for people to have play cars. And, people are going to know exactly where the dangers are. They're going to know where the big jumps are. And you're going to see crowds out there. I know you're going to see crowds out there, people setting up easy ups and just out in the middle of the desert, which is really cool. That's what's really cool about it, spectator-wise. So we'll see how that goes. I've never seen that in other areas. I think it's because Best in Desert runs more of a closed course. Maybe it's going to be more like a Mexico vibe. Who knows? I mean, how are they going to control people from being right on the edge of the actual race course, and when you guys come flying up over a hill and they're throwing their hands up like, go, go, go. And your first thing I do is, hey, hit the brakes, because, it's, you want the fans. It's cool. You throw the siren at them a little bit, you get them cheering or whatever. But I mean, we had an instance at Vegas Arena where guys were telling us to go one way. And I was like, no, go this way. And it wouldn't have turned out bad. It was just that they want us to go right through their camp area where they were. So I think in that aspect, it's going to be really, really cool. It's going to be able to show everybody. I just don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know what Arizona's limits are on, the social distancing or what it will even be in the middle of October. Who knows? But in the past, I mean, UTV Worlds has always been a really, really cool place for spectators and for racers.
Yeah, I know Andrew and I plan on doing like a legit shakedown in our car once we get it back from the tuner here, hopefully soon. We're probably going to do a new steering rack just because we have a lot of play in hours and it just feels like the front end kind of wanders quite a bit. But, once we get all of our boxes checked, we got a couple things like we don't even have dry brake on the car and on our dump cans for quick fuel stops. We've got a fuel leak coming out of the fuel cell we've got to figure out. So, we're finally, it's like we've had this car. It's like we've only raced it twice. It's been the longest race car build of all time. And I'm just excited to hopefully learn what we've learned from friends, and then just have a really good run and then hopefully be able to push a good pace and put this car what it's capable of doing. So I'm excited for it. I think my strategy always is like, we spent a fortune on this thing. I want to get to the finish line. I'd rather be conservative and wait for people to break, not drive with my ego. Anybody can drive fast with a roll cage, but it seems like the game is just preserving the car, and just by that nature, this we'll see how it goes. So,
how many laps is it? You said it's 60 miles. How many laps was it? 3 or 4?
We'll
it's 4 laps.
Four,
I think it's
4
4
60-mile laps.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a long race. You think about it. That's Parker. Parker 250, and the terrain probably won't be too far off. Of what Parker, like the sand washes. The problem about the sand washes, though, is lap 1, it's not too bad. Lap 2 and 3 and 4, it's washboard, like brutal to where your teeth are rattling in your head. So it's going to be interesting. I think you're correct. I think you should go in with the aspects of, finishing and just set your pace. There's going to be guys that are going to be passing you, and there's going to be fast guys that you pass that you're just like, holy cow. And you're going to start double checking yourself. Like, am I going too fast? Am I pushing this car too hard? But, they could be having issues or whatever. And I see that in every race. We pass people and it just, man, we just passed it. That guy is super fast, and it makes you feel good. But then we've also had people just come blowing past us. Like, we're parked on the side of the road and we see them in about 15 minutes, so it's so hard to set the correct pace without hurting the car and driving over your head.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew and I, our longest race has been 100 miles. So, my old guy conservative pace is going to make more sense going 240, especially if the course is as rocky and as gnarly as what I'm thinking, what I'm hearing it will be. And like you said, it's such a learning curve. Like all the fast guys know how hard to push it. Just like with a play rider, right? Like, everyone will push the limits, but you've got to figure out what that balance is so the car is not going to get hammered.
Fuel
And I mean,
mileage.
and there's fast guys. I mean, there's guys that just are on another level sometimes, and it's weird because some races, the terrain just don't fit those guys and they're slower and it really, really throws you for a loop. And then in other races, they're just uncatchable. I would think, just for you first, or what do they say? In order to finish, you got to first finish or whatever. Or,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what you guys really got to have the attitude. And I mean, I don't know if we're actually racing that one yet. We might have a conflict, but if not, I'll be there with you guys. So we'll get it all figured out, and I'll scream at you guys on the radio.
Well, that's going to kick off our October, which is obviously like literally the next month of planning to make sure the car is dialed. It's got a rough shakedown. Hopefully we've crossed every T and dotted every I. We thought we did that when we got showed up to our first race, and we realized we were sadly mistaken. So we're learning. We're trying to do what we, work as best as we can off what we know. And then right after that, we got the Sand Show, which is canceled from, of course, Orange County, which is usually a big turnout, over 60,000 people. And now we're talking the week after, it's October 15th in Scottsdale. So, for me, as a business owner in Arizona, it's a little bit easier logistically to get our inventory there. It's our first time set up as a brand with a booth, and we're getting displays custom made. We're going to have new clothing designs. We're going to have new products to show people, all that stuff we've been working on for quite a long time. And that's actually almost more nerve-wracking for me than this race, because I want to show up and be prepared. We're going to try to get as much content as we can. Maybe the Robbie Gordon car for the consumer will be on display. Maybe Polaris will drop the new rumored car. Who knows what could happen, right? Could be exciting. And at least I feel like they were able to get this event going before desert season. What do you guys think about it in Arizona and just happening at all?
I think it's a good idea to do it out in Arizona. Again, going with COVID, shut stuff down here in California. I know Sand Sports is a huge turnout for everybody looking for deals that just bought a new side-by-side. They want to get some wheels and tires. It's great for getting deals, but out in Arizona, I think we're going to have a big turnout with the people out there out in that neck of the woods. But I think it's going, hopefully, cross our fingers, something might happen. They might have to postpone it.
So is it happening at the convention centers there, like where they have the auto auctions? Is that where it's supposed to be happening?
It's Westworld in Scottsdale, so it's quite a bit smaller than the California Sand Show. But what I've been hearing too from our buddies at dealers is that like inventory is so low. Of course, like the biggest thing we haven't talked about yet is COVID has created this amazing demand for toys. People probably, in my opinion, have a big bucket of fun money, and that bucket is now not going towards that Disneyland trip, that Hawaii trip. And people are buying, bicycles, getting pools, from what I'm seeing from family and friends and my understanding, new vehicles and side-by-sides of, and then of course, like Can-Am, Polaris, they shut down the assembly line. Everyone kind of hit the panic button, and then the opposite happened for our industry. So I know a lot of Southern California dealers that have, a lot of presence in California aren't going to come. It's a ton of effort for them to go all the way to Arizona, and then they don't even have the inventory. So I think, unfortunately, if you guys are in the market as listeners for a new side-by-side, you're going to pay a lot more than you did last year. It's good for us that bought last year. It's keeping our resale up. I'm glad I bought what I have when I did. And, there's only so many of them. I'm hearing like Can-Am only has so many products to allocate. Same thing with Polaris. And then that's just going to take a while to sort itself out. So a lot of people were used to going to the Sand Show and buying cars for killer deals. The OEMs that support it with extra discounts. Like you said, parts and accessories galore. So it does sound like some of these smaller Southern California accessories companies are swamped. And like I was reading last night on Facebook, a guy said all the cages that he's wanting to buy are backlogged like 12 weeks. So people can't even find cages. And they want to buy stuff right away. They want to live it and want to have fun outdoors with their family and get out of the house. I'm sure those with older kids are all going stir crazy. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this pans out. I still think the turnout will be okay. It will be like California Sand Show, but man, it's just going to be kind of a totally weird year in terms of those of you that are looking to buy something new.
I think the Scottsdale is the best case scenario, though. I mean, if you think about the size of the actual Phoenix Valley, Mesa, and all those, Phoenix itself, and then Peoria and Scottsdale, all that, there's a lot of off-road in there. Every time I go down there, I've been down there several times this year. I mean, constantly, you're always seeing people out riding side-by-sides all over. So those people, I mean, how many of those people actually made up, the 60,000 would go to California? It's not going to compare. I get it. Southern California is just its own beast. And, people are so into off-road and, it's not just side-by-sides that we're talking about. But at the same time, I mean, I would think that valley, that whole Phoenix Valley, that's humongous, makes up a big, big target, of consumers that actually would go to the sand show. I don't think it's going to be, like you're saying, as much as Southern California, but I really do think that it's going to be a really good turnout. Everybody loves Scottsdale. I mean, and for the Southern California people to be able we can make a trip out of it. It's the same as us in Vegas and people in Phoenix. Every year they make a trip out of going down there. So we'll see. We'll just see. I agree with you on the inventory thing. That's going to be something that I don't know how they're going to combat, but there's a lot of people that are going to be selling their custom cars and things that they've built, and those are always there. And then who knows, maybe that new side-by-side company that's building cars will show up with some. He always does. He always does.
Yeah, what a good time to sell your rig if you have the ability to be patient and wait for 6 or 8 months for inventory to get back going in general, or even still, I don't know how good of a deal you're going to get even in 5 or 6 months. But that'll be a big deal for us. We'll probably document it as a small business, with our first trade show. There's a lot of moving parts, even for a small company like us. Having a display setup that looks legit, having all our vehicles that are wrapped on display as much as possible, getting our products around the show there, being able to sell products, like I said, having some exciting new products for people to come check out. So I'm really excited for us, and that requires a ton of planning from the business side of things that we're working hard on right now, and we'll be taking up most of our time. So I hope the race car goes together smoothly in terms of getting ready for the race, because we don't really have time. Time's going to be tight to get those both pulled off. And then as we move into October, the week after, I got invited to go on a Mexico ride, a ride I've also put on our YouTube channel from Rocky Point to El Golfo, which is super fun. Great group of friends, and my wife hasn't done it yet. So I'm really hoping that we can pull that off, which would be a 4-day trip back to back to back. And after that, Andrew, El Centro, Glamis, Camp Razor, if you guys haven't heard, Camp Razor was canceled, but it's still Glamis. It's still Halloween.
Douche.
Is Gecko open? Is it going to be open? What do you think?
I don't know. I know our local newspaper, the Desert Review, actually wrote a letter to BLM and asking about it, because that sustains our economy here. It's really going to take a toll if we're not getting that, people coming from LA, up north, coming to the sand dunes. So we haven't heard 100% yet if Gecko Rd will be open. I know I was out in Ocotillo Wells this past weekend passing through, and they still have cones up in some of the entrances of washes and stuff like that, saying, hey, this BLM land is closed due to COVID. So we'll see what happens. It's really going to take a toll if, they're really out there enforcing these laws. I know when COVID first started, Ocotillo Wells, they put a bunch of cones, a bunch of ribbon up. They even had planes flying over the top of people saying, hey, you guys need to back up. The desert's closed. You kind of weird hearing that, but we'll see what happens come, October 30th, Halloween weekend. We'll see if all those pad posse guys get up there on the pad, or they might have to be camping in the washes with all the people that they make fun of.
Dude, that's gonna be a melee. I guarantee those big dogs are already on pad 3.5. They snuck in there and they got their dick stuck up there. I've only been here for 3 days. Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah, the poor big ballers that might have to go slum it in the washes.
Dude, can you imagine them driving their rigs out there? That ain't happening.
Yeah,
they're gonna be down in.
Could you imagine them having to pay their guy to go drive their rigs out for them? That part.
I know. You know how far it is for them to drive from the airport to the washes? That's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how the dune season starts. And going back to March, as I've been off-roading by my house, I go far and around a lot in the spring. I was riding my moto a lot as well. I've never seen more people outdoors than I've seen in general going to Sedona. Like I said, riding moto, side-by-side rides, which is great. It's also led to, some other challenges. So it's going to be a really weird year because, like you said, it doesn't matter if Gecko's closed. This is going to be the biggest turnout, maybe even just as big if Camp Razor wasn't there. There's the washes will be jam packed. We have all these people that bought new rigs in spring. All these people that don't have less options to do in terms of fun and vacation and getting out of the house. And everyone loves Glamis, and everyone loves that first trip of the year. I mean, I've been to Camp Razor the last 7 years in a row, and you start to hear people say, "Oh, I'm not gonna go. That's all the squids. I'm gonna wait, and that's all the." But they still show up.
But they're there. They're there.
And
you have
6 months to get all fired up and get your gear all set up and your car all set up, and you're going to be there. So I think it's going to be popping no matter what.
Yeah, especially like when they announced it and it was on social media. You should have seen all the comments on there. It was people, "Oh, finally, that turned into a side-by-side event, blah, blah, blah." And they're just talking a bunch of smack about you guys. About side-by-side.
Yeah, well, I hate to say it. I mean, I love a Sandro guy just like everybody else. I love the Sandro guys. They have some sweet cars, but I'm telling you right now, for every one bad freaking sand car you see 15 to 20 side-by-sides. So, I get it. We're coming into their sandbox and making them all look bad.
Please.
We have a real crusty friend. I won't mention his name, but man, he hates side-by-sides, and I just don't understand why. It's not a big deal.
And speaking of which, I got a rant about people being salty about Camp Razor. Like years, it was like free lunches and giving away 10 razors and toy haulers, right? And then there was like that Gecko Rd concert, which sounded like everybody just absolutely loved. Well, things happen, maybe budgets get cut. Like the amount of people that complain, "Oh, there wasn't as much free stuff as last year." Who else is doing that? What are you salty about? Like, why is there any negativity about Polaris, who fixes everybody's car? They have 4 engineers that work like 14-hour days. They rip motors out of cars. They do everything they can, and they still give away some entertainment. "Oh, last year, man, I got 8 free T-shirts, and this year I only got 1. Like, are you kidding me? Like, if it wasn't for them, none of that would have happened. That wouldn't have forced Can-Am to step up. So last year, our buddy Carl broke his Can-Am. Guess what? He went to Can-Am and he got a free trailing arm. That wouldn't have happened if Polaris wouldn't have said, "We're making this happen." And they have trailing on Polaris's event. I don't know.
Yep.
That's how I feel.
And they're all there.
Polaris, I don't get the saltiness and then people being a whiny. The expectation and the entitlement is annoying when ultimately it's good for the whole community. You don't have to go that weekend. If you do, there's going to be some entertainment. There's going to be some giveaways, and there's going to be some free service and maybe some free swag. Like last year, Nitro Circuit was dope. Like who doesn't want their kids to go watch Nitro Circuit? It's a family-friendly show. The kids send it, they rip. Like, what more can you? And that was free. That would never happen in the dunes, man.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, people get a little salty because you show up and, you're excited. You're excited because Polaris puts on such a good event, and they give away so much stuff. I mean, I remember one year you walk in with a swag bag and it's like, holy cow, like they're giving us all this just to walk through the gate, and water bottles and everything just everywhere. And then, like you said, budgets get cut and things happen. But, I mean, there was a year where if you walked in with a piece of belt and it didn't even have to be your belt, you found a broken belt in the dunes, you walked over and showed them and they would exchange it.
Yeah.
I had a Gates belt, which I was probably never, ever going to run in case of emergency only. And I walked in with a Gates belt and they freaking exchanged it right there. Yeah. I mean, things like that. That's a $200 part right there. And I get it, people get salty and, whatever, because it's not the same as last year. But I'm with you, man. Those people just need to chill out. Without Polaris, without that event, I don't think the sport would even be what it is at Glamis.
Yeah, and whether Polaris has a budget cut, or who knows, right? A lot of things happen, right? They had the recalls and a lot of things, but it's just so beside the point because what are they supposed to do? Like make the Super Bowl and then the next Super Bowl and then Janet Jackson and then Beyonce? Like at a certain point, like people are always going to ask for more and want more. So like, they can't do that. It's not for any business. It's not sustainable, and things happen to their business.
Yeah.
Got way more competition in the Southwest, and they're still spending a ton of money and ship all these people out. And I don't know. That's just my little rant.
Yeah.
Glam's still going to be.
I'm still
going to be good. That weekend is always hot. It's still going to be 94 degrees, and it's still going to be hot.
Yep.
I'm still salty about Schoenstein, though, unfortunately.
I was just thinking that, and I was like, that's one thing, Polaris, man, you need to step up. We brought you the cleanest car at the dunes, and just Just
You
gave
guys
us a
pick
shaft,
a
man. You just didn't care. Didn't care.
Polaris General with a pooper in it.
Yeah. What these guys are talking about is one of our YouTube videos from Camp Racer last year. Andrew's car was all purdy, and we
new.
tried to talk our talk in front of the dude and get our fair graces of having an all car. And that's me for you. We go to this event. It's a sand event, and I'm talking about how our car is not just a sand queen. It was biased. We weren't going to win anyway, but either way, we tried.
No, yeah,
And
definitely.
the thing of it is, I knew the judges. Like, I knew those guys. Like, I raced with those guys. I talked to those guys, and they still couldn't beat the corporate power, man. Corporate power just
They
told
must have
them
got they must have got a bonus or something to pick the
I
general.
mean, not to mention that, you know, they both are paid, and, you know, they both raced Dakar, and they both raced for Polaris, and not to mention Seth or Mitch's name, but I mean, but yeah.
Well,
never forget that, guys.
Maybe Chupacabra was going to throw down a title sponsor if we're going to win that event. But
yeah, exactly.
We got to wrap this thing up here in a few minutes. Andrew, we got a new video we're working on, X3 build. Give us a quick update. Andrew's getting into the racing game with his own Can-Am. We're not Polaris only. Andrew's the first guy to break the Polaris cycle with an X3. So what's going on with that car?
So what's going on? Just dropped it off at Magnum Offroad up in Vista, California last week.
They make some nice stuff.
As you've seen, we've been posting some of their stuff because I'm very, very excited to be working with Magnum. I reached out to them, and they're all hands on deck with us, and they're helping me out through this process. You know, they want to build me my perfect car. It's pretty awesome. It's up there right now. Should have it back in my hands here at the end of the month. Then on to the next part, which is going to be gusseting the entire chassis. Pretty much made a race car off a stock chassis. So got to get that chassis stout for desert racing. I don't want to have any problems breaking tabs off or mounting points, stuff like that. But it's going to be a long process.
You're going to have plenty of other problems.
I thought I was going to have this build done within 6 to 7 months, but it's not going to happen. This is so much more work than what I thought in my head. So I'm pushing for April, May of next year. Maybe hit some local District 38 races, the first couple races, just to shake it down, you know, quick 100 miles, get it done, test, everything like that. And then my biggest goal for next year is Vegas to Reno 2021. So hopefully
calling it.
Well, just to time out on that real quick. There is no Vegas to Reno 2021.
Oh, it's Reno to Vegas.
Reno to Vegas. Yeah, sorry.
That's going to be really cool. So
RV, what is it? Yeah.
R2V.
R2V. Yeah, there you go.
R2V. So that's going to be one of the biggest goals for next year is getting to Vegas to Reno and getting across that finish line. So really looking forward to it. We got a lot of companies helping us out with this build. Name a couple, you know, Baja Designs, PRP Seats, Method and Tensor, Magnum, of course. Jeffrey's Performance is helping us out with the tuning. Thanks to Evo for getting us all the Evo products for that car. There you go, JP right there.
Cool guys.
Yes, definitely. Half Baked Powder Coating is doing all the powder coating, everything. Steal it for me. Hooked up with 56 Industries as well for suspension components. Wayne at Altec's going to be going through the shocks, making those things plush.
Is there anybody else to even consider?
I don't think so. After riding in my Turbo S and then in the race car, man, I don't think I'll go to anybody else after this.
So Andrew, Magnum, like if you guys follow us on IG, we post so many amazing X3s and just fab shops, cage guys and guys that can do more. Like, give us your top 3, top 4. Like, you were so on the fence. We talked about this for months. We're gonna go
God!
With. Like,
so
give us the other people you would throw down your hard-earned money to have them build an X3 if it wasn't Magnum.
Yeah, so Magnum was my number one pick. I wrote down a couple other companies to build me a Can-Am chassis. One being Gun Race Cars out of Mexicali, down here close to me. Another one was Thad at Fabworks. He was another contender, but
he built my chassis, by the way. Fabworks.
Yeah.
Were you basing this off of like value or bang for your buck, or I mean?
I was going for, more of a budget build, but now this thing's going to be, it's going to be
Right.
way past budget, but,
Well, ultimately, right, the same thing we try to do with any of our videos is value. Like, what are you getting
yeah,
for your money?
Right.
And,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
it's not like Andrew's getting any of this stuff for free. Like,
No, I'm
No.
paying for
and
everything.
that's why I think we should talk about this more in a podcast of sponsorship and like kind of how we approach it. Because if you look at like all of our turbo builds, like all the stuff we paid with our own money, like we get better deals than others, which can affect. And I think there's a lot of reputable brands that have competing products, like wheels, right? There's 4 or 5 options I would run with my own money. But then from there, like if one company wants to work with us a little bit more, sees value in us, trying to create more content and value with what we're doing, whether that's racing or beyond. Go ahead, Andrew. I don't want to take your thunder too much, but who are you talking about? Like you said, Magnum and like Can, Mexicali. Who else like came up on your radar?
Then that at FabWorks, of course. Just the styling of the car really, I was looking for more of that sleek, flat top cage, the Class 10 style. And Magnum really knocks it out of the park in that category.
Yeah, their cars look good.
Especially with that big rear trunk that they build. It really looks good. And that was my number one. At first I got a quote from them. They were a little on the high side. That's when I reached out to Can Race Cars. I changed some stuff on the build sheet with Magnum, brought the cost down quite a bit. Biggest thing was the fuel cell. Their fuel cell sits in the back, off the rear end. The fuel cell that we put in this car actually sits underneath the driver and passenger seat, so lowers
So
the
much
center of
better.
gravity. So
much better.
So realistically, with Can and Magnum, they were really close in price to pretty much what I wanted. So I ended up going with Magnum, kept my money in the States, especially during this pandemic. A lot of these businesses are hurting for money, but yeah, it's just Magnum was my top choice. So we did a full race build with them. They're gusseting the whole chassis, tying in the whole front end with their bulkhead, front bumper, shock mounts, their cage, window nets, rear trunk, spare tire carrier. They're mounting all the radiator, intercooler, pretty much doing most of the fabrication work for me. Once I get it back from them, it'll go up to my brother-in-law, and he's actually going to weld in some more of the pre-cut gusset kits from like Lone Star and S3. So, but adding value, it's like, it's all coming out of my pocket. Like Nick was saying, we're working with companies like the ones I mentioned, and we're still paying for all this product. But it helps out with the discounts that they give us.
Yeah, we hope to return that favor and provide value with them, with the videos that we've done, content we've created. And, it's important, I think, like racer, anybody in general, like what's the value we're providing? And like I said, it'd be a good podcast for us because we think about it too, from people that we want to work with, people that we work with now. Having that reach on social, putting a lot of effort in on social for me means a lot. And, because it means a lot to me, I hope that we're following through the same thing with people that want to work with us. So, it's fun. We hope that we can build more of a following and hopefully all you listeners just kind of point you in the right direction of our personal experiences, our taste, what we've learned, what we want to spend our money on, and if we thought it was a good value or not, and be transparent. If we thought that even if we did get the deal on that, if that product or this product, like what we think, so everything's got a price and a value, and that's really hard to decode in this industry. And that's where I think there's a ton of value, is because all these products don't have 1,000 reviews on Amazon, right? It's all word of mouth. Like, hey, Wes, how are those Toyo tires? Hey, Andrew, like, how is that setup going to be on your Can-Am versus this gusset kit or whatever it might be. So, that's what I hope you guys as listeners get a lot out of this podcast. We just kind of talk shop and let you know how we're spending our money, kind of where we come from, how much we've been involved in it, what we think about it. And we're always learning too. The best case is our video series on our race car. We thought we knew quite a bit. We came to the first race. We didn't even have the taillights working when we pushed on the brake pedal. We couldn't even pass tech.
I think the listeners also need to understand is that, yeah, we build these cars and we put our hard-earned money in it, and they need to understand that. But also the fact that there's a reason why we put the certain things that we put on there. We're willing to pay for the good stuff and the good parts. I mean, I stand by my car, which is completely different from Nick's car or Andrew's car, but I stand by those products. I went with the products that I wanted because I believe in those products. I've tested those products. I've, used those products, whether it's in racing or in my other car and things like that. And it's important that people understand that we're not here to, look at this, you should go here, or you should, we're pouting like, oh, you need this light bar and these wheels and these tires. I mean, that's what this is about. I mean, if people have questions and stuff, hopefully they'd ask us, like, for instance, you talked about the tires. Like, I went with a different tire brand than you guys did, and there's a reason, not because your tire's better or my tire's worse, but because I know that tire. I know what that tire does. And so it's a lot of knowledge that we have that we can hopefully share with people, and they understand it, and that they understand that it's sincere. I know in the past there's been other platforms, and there's platforms currently that it's plain as day. They do things because that's who gives them money. And that's what's cool about Chupacabra Offroad, man. We're just some guys, and just like everybody else and these listeners that are, excited about this, and, we're able to use the parts that we want and build the cars the way that we want because that's what we know.
Yeah, and to touch on your point, people have different value props for every product. Some people will never buy lights. They're going to buy a $60 light bar off Amazon. You know what? Kudos. I have one of those too. And for what they are, they work amazing for the price. So, a video I did on my car I had in 2018 was value versus performance, like where I had the stock seats, I had Amazon light bar, but then I splurged and got the BFG KR2s, which is still probably the best tire that there is. I didn't have any electronics in it, but I went with an SDR cage, was a little bit more pricey. So, and then I made sure I had a spring kit. So that was kind of like the purpose of that video. And I think we'll elaborate more on the channel is like, take our for like one thing I'd probably stand on is like, I think spending money on suspension is always the way to go, no matter what you've got. But, and showing you guys why we think that's valuable. But, we're not going to try to convince you that this brand of tire or a trim or a light bar, if you just don't see value in, or I'm all about the sea heaters. Most of you guys think that's maybe a waste of money, or powder coating the wheels. Like, it adds no performance and it costs a fair bit of money.
Well, I'm hoping also that we get a lot of comments and a lot of things from, either listening to this or watching it on YouTube, and we get a lot of comments. People can show us products that we don't even know about, things that, hey, go check this out, check that out type of thing. Because I'm always looking for the new cool stuff, honestly, all the time on social media, things like that, and peeking in people's cars and whatever. So there's a lot of cool stuff out there we don't even know about.
And you guys know, listeners, that's so hard to keep up on. Like, we're all three of us are super nerds, and we try to do that a lot on social. And there's new products coming up every day, and it's so impossible to. And I've been nerding out on this for a minute, for since 2012ish, where I've been paying close attention, and that's what's so exciting about the industry that's going on right now. So, good time to be in, like I said. So. All right, guys. Well, fun getting together as always. Thanks, you guys, for listening. Check us out. We are a products company. Check out our website, Chupacabra Offroad. You can find us on social, Google, at Pinterest. We got a Pinterest page. We're updating it weekly at Chupacabra Offroad and all that stuff. So thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys on the next one.